met, not personal, but I was investigating a lot of things about. Oh, he's already there. I'll tell you the story later.
Hello, Jeroen.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Yeah, we are great.
I'm on the screen right now.
Yes. You have a little bit of an overview. What people is sitting in front of you?
Yeah,
Yes,
I can see
okay.
everyone.
So, Jeroen, I already explained to the people that I especially. They are laughing at me. I don't know why. Okay, I'm standing in front of the. So she. I thought that the camera was over there, but it's over there. Okay. Yeah, that is when you have got a little bit older, you can make that kind of mistakes. I already explained that you worked in first instance in the Netherlands, and then you want to educate yourself more, and you went to the US. And please explain to us what you're doing and why you're doing that in the US.
Yeah, sure thing. So I previously worked in the Netherlands at a service design agency where I was a designer but also a programmer. And this was already a little bit an alternative path because I didn't go to a traditional college or university. I decided to go for kind of like an alternative route and started to work right away. But what I noticed is that starting to work right away, you're kind of like put into a certain, you're kind of like labeled into what your skill set allows you at that certain point in time. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to become a better developer, a better entrepreneur. And really, if you're into tech, the only place where that really is happening right now is in San Francisco, is in Silicon Valley. So for whatever reason, I found out about this boot camp initially, and camps might be something that's a little bit alien to Dutch people, but here in San Francisco, you have a lot of tech boot camps. And they make this promise of teaching you how to code and become available in the job market in maybe like 2 months or maybe 3 months. So I did a boot camp, created my first iOS app, and then afterwards they introduced their other program, which is a 2-year college alternative for entrepreneurs in computer science. So I was really triggered by this idea of doing alternative education that's not focused on building knowledge, but it's focused, well, it's also focused on building knowledge, but it's much more focused on creating products and working together in teams on projects you actually care about and are passionate about. So fast forward 1 year, I've been in that program for 1 year right now, here in San Francisco, and I've built a couple of great apps, met a lot of really good people, and I think that's the most important thing is, like any college or university, really one of the most valuable things you gain from that is having a network. And I don't know if anyone has ever heard about Y Combinator. They're one of the most prestigious incubators for tech companies in the world. And the school I'm part of went through Y Combinator about 4 years ago right now, 3 years ago. And they have this huge network to their availability. People from some companies that went through the network, you can think of Airbnb, for example, or Dropbox. So those are really big companies. Yeah, thank you. Do I take questions now, or?
Yeah. Are there people having questions to Jeroen? Jeroen, can you explain to me why? Because I understand from you that you say I was looking for the combination of entrepreneurship and computer science. Did I understood that correctly?
Yeah, this is correct. Yeah.
And you couldn't find it in the Netherlands?
So there are definitely opportunities in the Netherlands, but I think anyone who is kind of like alien to the tech bubble or like to the tech world can't really imagine how big tech is here in San Francisco, how big it is in Silicon Valley. Every Uber I get into, every coffee shop I go to, everywhere I walk, there are people working for big companies like Google. There are people working at small startups here in the city. Everyone you encounter is pretty much into tech. And this creates a huge network effect. And this is growing in other hubs around the world. One of the places that come to mind are, for example, Berlin, London, Amsterdam on a smaller scale. But if you go to Amsterdam, you probably won't see a lot of tech people at the coffee shops you go to, or well, in Amsterdam, if you go to a coffee shop, it's a little different. But
that was exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
But that network effect is just really strong. I sit down with people here who are just so well connected here, and the job availability is just extremely high. At any point in time, you can switch from job to job. There's so many openings. The big companies are just dying to get more engineers. They're just dying to get more people. And it's such a competitive market from the employer standpoint that as an employee, you're just very much empowered and you can get very good offers.
Yeah.
I can, as an example of this, I'm working together with a brilliant student here called Hunter. He didn't have any degree. He just came out of high school. He went into make school with already like a huge portfolio. And he actually got hired for Google, and he's starting there next week. He's 19 years old, no education whatsoever, but just a huge skill set.
Yeah. Is that an exception, or is that normal?
I would say like it's exception on the norm in general, but it's not necessarily an exception here in San Francisco or Silicon Valley.
You are 24, 25?
I'm 21 right now.
21. Okay. Could you give us an advice what a city like Amsterdam should do to get the same attitude as you find in Silicon Valley?
So one of the
Except
biggest,
for the sleeplessness of people.
One of the biggest contributors to the big tech bubble here in Silicon Valley is the fact there's a lot of capital. There's a lot of money. There are a lot of venture capitalists. And this fact makes it very easy for anyone that wants to start a startup with like actually a good idea, with a validated idea, to actually attract capital from people. And now this is also somewhat true for other startup hubs or other tech hubs, but it's nothing compared. It's like magnitudes bigger it is in Silicon Valley than any other environment up to this point. So honestly, what would be really contribute to a startup hub in Amsterdam, for example, is venture capitalists or angel investors in investing, or maybe there are a couple of big incubators here in Silicon Valley, Y Combinator, or as 500 Startups, a couple other ones. And those programs, they train startups and give them the network. I know there are a couple more of these incubators in other parts, but again, they're just like a magnitude smaller and magnitude less well known than it is here. To give an indication of what such an incubator is, you have to think about, if you go to Harvard, you get credentials. I went to Harvard. This is a very good school. When you're done with Harvard, it shows potential employers like, oh, you're actually like a decent person. You're actually a very smart person, so I want to hire you. Now, if you think about a startup, if you go through an incubator called Y Combinator, they actually say it's harder to get in Y Combinator than it is to get into Harvard. It kind of like shows, if you go through such a process, your company, your startup is really validated by the market. And that gives you the ability to be recognized by other people in the world, like, hey, I want to invest in a startup. I want to be part of the startup. So it's kind of like a network effect of startups empowering each other. So you really need, for a tech hub to sustain, you really need a big network. I think that's the biggest contributor.
Okay, and that's failing in the Netherlands. That's what you're saying, more or less.
Yeah, it's way less in the Netherlands at this point. And also what's harder is that in America, it's just very easy to hire and fire people, and this is way harder in Europe in general. So it's like if you make a wrong hire at like an early stage startup, you can shoot yourself in the foot because you might be stuck with this person.
Okay. Questions to Jeroen?
Can I answer a question?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, Jeroen. You don't see me, right?
That's Abel from Hyperloop.
Hello, Jeroen.
All right, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I love what you're doing there, but you have to promise that you're coming back because we need this talent also here in Amsterdam to make this this system here where you're talking about. They cannot steal our talent, man. So come back.
I think one of the issues is with the attraction of talent in general is that the big, like, for me right now in an early age in your career, a lot of people are focused on their careers here in San Francisco. A lot of people come here for about 2 to 5 years and then they move back. It's very much the city run by 20-year-olds. And I think a lot of those people, when they validate themselves, because I don't have a degree from Harvard, I don't have a degree from any college. It's very hard for me to show, like, hey, I'm actually a talented guy, please hire me. But I have no traditional credentials to show for. But if I can say, hey, and the same goes, for example, my friend would just get hired by Google. If you can say in about 4 years, hey, I worked for Google at 4 years, that's way more impressive than saying, like, hey, I finished like a college degree or whatever not, right? So basically, a lot of people are trying to build up validation before they move back to like their hometowns, or they just stay here, of course.
Jeroen, thank you very much for your contribution.
Jeroen.
And
Jeroen.
Oh, there's a question.
What's the weather like?
It's really nice right now, so I would definitely move out here.
Okay. But you're one thing missing. I explained to people that you're from Sassheim.
Yeah.
And you know what's happening in Sassheim at this moment?
I don't know actually what is happening.
You've never heard of Keukenhof.
Oh, that's a listen though.
Yeah, okay. The bulbs are blowing. The bulbs are blowing. You've got a question?
No, Henny, but he has to stay. Hey, Jeroen, how are you?
Okay.
Hey,
but the nice thing is, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't say. I'm used to big screens, so normally I talk to big screens. But the nice thing is, I was doing desk research for our Young Talent program, and then I found Make School, and I was on the website, and then I saw a Dutch name. So I thought, hey, that's interesting. So I sent an email to him, and I think in 2 hours he sent me an email back. And we had a couple of conversations. We never met each other, but we were great conversations. And we asked him to help and to think about our Young Talent program. And it's really, I'm proud that you're this evening with us. So I would like to ask you if you can, because we're now having some discussion, and maybe he can stay, Henny? Of course. Yeah, because maybe people still have questions, or you have also an opinion about, I think you have an opinion. So stay, please.
I have a question.
Oh, you have another question.
Maybe can you talk?
One moment, please.
Yeah. Hi, Jeroen. This is Frank.
Hey, Frank. How are you doing?
Maybe you can tell something about your app. Can you tell something more about your app you're building right now?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about product I'm working on right now. So currently, I'm building I don't know how well first everyone here is in technology, but I'm currently building a developer tool with my friend that makes it easier for people to make backend systems for their apps or for their websites. So if you're an app developer, it's kind of like a different skill set you need to make an app than it is to build a server, and we're making it easier for those app developers with those skill set to learn how to create a server and make that scalable.
Okay, and I know that you're famous in music, and I know that you made some great music apps.
Yeah, this is true also. So previously I've mainly tried to combine my passions of technology and audio, and I brought it together in 2 apps. One is basically a DJ app where you can pick any song on your iPhone and start DJing like a real DJ with his controller. And the other one is a music visualizer, which also has the ability to, if you're into it, it's kind of like a niche app, but if you want to create your own music visualizations, I give people an editor to do that online, and they can see a live update on their Apple TV or on their mobile phone.
Okay, great. And we can find those apps under the name Ransijn.
Yeah, I'm not sure if my presentation is up, but I put my Twitter handle and my website in there. My name is kind of like hard to spell, but it's Jeroen Ransijn with a lange I.
With IG.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
IG. Okay, Jeroen, thank you. Stay with us because we're going to have with the group over here a few discussions, and after that we are going on some small alcohol or something like that. Let's see. Thank you very much, Jeroen. Give him a Okay. Okay, the first statement I said, working for